Cape Town at the tip of Africa is probably closer to all of the real tangible impacts of global warming and the lack of attention to green and sustainability. And that's why we think it's very important that the Waterfront takes a leadership position in green sustainability across the precinct.
Allan Gray, as a client, very, very innovative. They've been tenants of the Waterfront pretty much since the beginning. And they approached the Waterfront to build them a new head office.
We're an asset management company. People give us their money. We try to create wealth for them. We had 15 different sub-tenancies in 3 different buildings in the Waterfront. From a communication point of view, it was just an inefficiency. And we decided that we needed to actually get everybody under one roof.
So when we first started the project, everyone got very excited about all the various sustainability initiatives that were available, but it was all very new.
Green Building Council was here in Cape Town the year we started the design, which was very useful. And when we started to look around, we found that particularly Eastern Australia had a large number of buildings that were 10, 15 years ahead of us in thinking. So we thought, if we're going to be serious about this, we need to go and look.
So we went across to Australia and we had a great trip that was organised by Yaku of Arup, who at the time was working in Australia.
When we start looking at new building design, we need to think about the long term and how we create long-term value. How do we, over the long term, reduce energy consumption and water consumption?
We made a conscious decision on the plane on the way back together that we weren't going to do anything that actually made sense, that wouldn't work. We weren't going to chase stars. We were going to build a good building.
The Green Building Council really works together and collaborates with industry, for example, with the Growth Point, with Arup, with the Allan Grays, working on rating tools and certification and education to achieve our goals.
We looked at our points after the initial design and we were only a 4-star building. And then people started applying themselves and consultants sweated blood. It was hard work and they had to keep going back. There was none of this, I'm going to do what I did in another building and do it here. Everything had to be thought about as particular for this building on this site.
The V&A identified that the primary organs of the building are the facade, the air conditioning system, and then the building control, the BMS system. And that really unlocked the high-performance facade.
The double-skin facade specifically that we have here, I don't know of any other building that has it. We have the inside weather line, which is double glazing, and then we have a single pane about 800 millimeters on the outside of that, and we have a blind sitting in between in that gap. And when the sun hits the facade, the blind will come down and capture the heat of the sun within that cavity, and then through natural convection, that heat will rise and go out the top before it can enter the building.
Allan Gray needed raised access floors. Having this high-performance facade allowed us to basically use that raised access flooring and the plenum beneath the floor as the way to distribute air through the building.
The temperature coming out is just below room temperature and it trickles out, and then as it heats up it rises to the top, and therefore it's very comfortable, also very energy efficient because you're not air conditioning the whole space, you're only air conditioning the area that people are actually occupying. And then lastly, because you get laminar flow from the bottom up, it takes all the pollutants with it to the top and then gets distracted out.
One individual can't make a green building. It's got to have the buy-in of the entire team.
We used to have these large design meetings, 20, 30 consultants around the table once a week for 4, 5, 6 hours.
And we sort of very quickly realized that we were doing the right things to get us to 5 stars.
The payback period that we used as a benchmark for each decision was about 7 years.
And then we were short about 2 or 3 points to get us to 6 star right at the end. And we sat down with Mark and Michael and said, listen, we're short. Let's have a look at some of the things we can do to get us over the line. And what we previously looked at was a grey water system here. It didn't quite make financially sense at the time, but what we did is we made allowance for it to be installed at a later date when it did make sense. So we plumbed for it, we had the space in the basement for it, and then the decision was made to install that at the time to just get us over the line, to get us to 6 stars.
The biggest single benefit of green building is the health and the productivity of people, the lower absence.
We've worked together with a professor from the University of Wits to gather this data around the productivity impact.
Productivity is up by 4%, which is a big number if you turn that into man hours and salary. Another big plus for us is that sick leave has gone down by 8%.
Green building is often perceived as being more expensive, and we've done a study with the South African Association of QSs to kind of test that, and really what it's shown that on average the cost of Green Star rated green buildings are about 5% more expensive.
But we're saving about 40-50% on water and electricity straight up. And we're just now, recently in the last month, installed solar, which we didn't have part of the original design, which we're expecting to get a better return out of. And we're about to put in a desalination plant as well to take us off the grid. So there's constant improvement that can be made.
Buildings like Number One Silo really have gone the extra mile and gone sort of to the top end of green building standards, having achieved a 6-star rating.
We're very fortunate having the shareholders of PIC and Growthpoint, because both of them, particularly Growthpoint, are very aligned to a green, sustainable approach.
They've made this decision that they want both their new buildings and existing buildings to be green buildings, and over time their entire portfolio will be green, which is a fantastic target.
Allan Gray is truly your ideal tenant, and this building is truly world class. Once again, in the tip of Africa, we've got a real beacon of wonderful practice.